dedicated to helping business owners excel in the digital world. This is The Path to Growth. Hey guys, on today's podcast, we're going to be discussing 3 ways to ensure your website is actually making you money. Okay, so when it comes to websites, I know nowadays pretty much everyone has a website. I mean, it's way easier and way more efficient to build websites and to even purchase a website. I mean, you could literally create a website, a one-page website even, within an hour, and you can probably get it hosted for something like a couple of, $10, $15 a month. Whereas back in the day, I mean, you're talking, it used to cost like $10,000 for a website, and people just didn't have the money for it. But nowadays, it's a little more affordable, a lot more affordable if you know what you're doing. And there's a lot more tools like, WordPress and Wix and Squarespace. I mean, there's just no reason why you don't have a website. That's what it comes down to, is there's zero reason for you not to have a website. And there's no reason for you not to be able to track how much money your website is actually making. When it comes to what your website is doing for you, a lot of people think that right away you're referring, or I would be referring to right now, to an e-commerce site, something like a WooCommerce or a Shopify shop. And this particular episode has nothing to do with e-commerce. Like, I'm not even going to discuss e-commerce because I don't want you to think that that's the only way you can track a return of investment for your website. There's other ways to track. And we're going to be discussing the top 3 ways you can actually track your return of investment. So let's get started. So the first way that you can keep track of what's going on in your website is probably the most important tool you add to your website, no matter what platform you use, if it's raw HTML code, or if it's a WordPress site, or if it's a Wix site, whatever it is, you want Google Analytics on that site. I can't stress this enough, how important Google Analytics is. I mean, you're literally taking a tool that was invented by the guys that basically run the internet. I mean, you Google everything. So to take a tool that they made, because they know the stresses and they know the choke points on analyzing your data, and they built a tool that's pretty much the industry standard at this point, especially since Facebook just announced, I don't know how long ago, but we noticed it the other day, that their Facebook Analytics dashboard says that it's going away. So Google Analytics is going to become, if it's not already, basically one of the only platforms that you will need in order to monitor your website. And I'm not talking about the fact that there are so many other platforms out there, but this is for the typical business owner who, has no business coding or setting these tools up. This is probably the easiest and most effective way, and it's free, to track the basics of your website. This is what the Path to Growth podcast is really for, is for business owners. And using these tools, there's no reason why you can't do this yourself, because a lot of people can't afford an agency right now. And Google Analytics is probably the easiest tool to set up right now, especially with, like I said, with Wix and all these other guys. They have basically, you will pretty much create a Google account if you don't already have one, who doesn't have a Gmail. You'll create a Google account, and Google is going to give you a code, not lines of code like HTML or anything. They're going to give you maybe 5 or 6 numbers with a G in front of it, and you're going to copy that and you're going to paste it into a field within Squarespace or Wix. WordPress nowadays has stuff like that. That's it. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not like you have to be a software engineer in order to do this. I mean, there's obviously more capabilities you could do if you want to dig deeper into more analytics and more data. But the basics for a basic business owner to set up analyzation of your website in basic form is through Google Analytics. Now, what can you really do with Google Analytics? I mean, why would you want to do that? So one of the primary goals, I should say, no pun intended, is goals. One of the primary features that you can report on is goals. So pretty much you tell Google, when this happens on my website, my business makes X amount of dollars. So basically, if I'm going on your website, say for instance you're a restaurant, right? I go on your website, I get to the homepage, and if you have a good slider set up, the first thing you're going to see is something that says, "Oh, we just got a brand new hamburger, a brand new platter that we want to introduce, and we offer it with our delivery. Click here to order now." When somebody clicks that button, order now, you can literally tell Google, if they click this button, this order now button, and say that order now button is attached to a phone call into your restaurant. Let's just take online ordering out of the question. They click it, they call you. Very simple. You can tell Google, if they click this, my business could make on average, I don't know, $50. Now, every time someone clicks that button, Google's going to report it as this is your goal. Now, that's a very, 30,000-foot view of what that button does. I mean, you can get 20 people to click that button and not actually call you. They'll see it and they'll be like, oh, wait, I didn't mean to do that. That's just an example. This is just a very basic example of what I mean by you can tell Google, when something happens on your website, my business makes X amount of money. That's what a goal is on Google. And it doesn't just happen for your website as far as a direct, someone typed in your URL. You can have an ad out there, okay? Whether it's a Google ad, a Facebook ad, it could even be a Pinterest pin. Someone can click the Pinterest pin, go to your website, click the order now button because you have a beautiful picture of your hamburger as a Pinterest pin. And now Google Analytics is going to tell you Pinterest sold the hamburger. And now you're going to say, oh, wow, okay, so this is what's going on with those Pinterest pins. And now you're going to double down on Pinterest because you know for a fact that one person converted. That's already enough to say, okay, something's working here. This is now how you're going to analyze your website. This is how you're going to now get into the rhythm of every morning, you're sipping your coffee or your tea if you're Gandalf the Grey. You're going to be looking at these reports, and you're going to now become an analyzer without even realizing it. And you don't have to learn this stuff to a degree where you're like a scientist. You just learn the basics. It's just like business. You know what your P&L looks like. You know what your profit is. You know what your expenses are. Google Analytics is no different for the basics. I don't want to belittle Google Analytics. As a marketer, Google Analytics can be very, very, very powerful, and you have to know what you're doing. But as a business owner, for just basic information that's free, that's effective, that's just the basics, you need to set up Google Analytics. Digging a little deeper into the capabilities of Google Analytics, there's something called multi-channel funnels, okay? So to help explain this, just imagine you're sitting on the couch, right? And you're scrolling through Facebook and you see shoes, right? You see, DSW puts out an ad for shoes. And you go, oh my God, these are beautiful. Let me click it. You click on the shoes, right? All of a sudden you're trying to check out of your cart and one of your kids calls you inside, or your husband says, babe, I need you for a minute. And you put the phone down, you come back an hour later after, maybe the laundry was done, maybe you're doing something in the house. You come back and you don't finish what you were doing. Since they know that your brand showed them an ad, that person that just went to dsw.com through the ad is now going to say, I didn't finish shopping. Let me go on their website. So now the traffic source went from Facebook to now it's going to go to either Google. Either they're going to do a Google search for DSW, or they're going to go directly to your website. Okay? When this goal happens, there's cookies that are tracking you. And I know everyone's ears are perking up like, oh, well, that's supposed to be going away, and you're not supposed to be tracking people anymore. But there are still going to be cookies around. There's going to be other ways that Google and Facebook and all these guys are going to somehow track you where you are. And you're probably going to allow it because you want personalization. The majority of the people think privacy with these internet guys is bad, but they're not forcing you to check into Starbucks and post about your caramel macchiato. You're the one doing that. So privacy is a touchy subject with me because there's a lot of people who are a little Hippocratic about it, and they don't understand that they're the ones giving up their own privacy. But in any event, these multi-channel funnels are going to be able to allow you to view if somebody went from Facebook to Google to direct. And it's going to now say there was a goal made. There was a shoe that was added to someone's cart. They bought it. You made $75, and your multi-channel funnel is telling you that it took them 3 touch points to get to you. That's what multi-channel funnels is. And this doesn't only happen for Facebook. It'll happen for referrals also. It'll let you know that there is an email that went out. So you might see something from MailChimp or Constant Contact. The user clicked it, but because they didn't have time to shop, or something came up, or maybe the next day they decided to go back to your website, your brand stuck into their head. So now branding comes into play. With multi-channel funnels, you're going to be able to see how much does your brand matter. And that's what's most important. If people are remembering to go to your website after they saw an ad the day before, you're doing a pretty good job at branding, because either they loved the ad, maybe it was something funny, maybe it was your logo, maybe it was the fact that your brand is in their face, and something is leading them back to your website. That's what multi-channel funnels is going to be telling you, is that people are remembering your brand. And if you're lucky enough to get the actual keyword of what people typed in, that's even better, because now you can tell, not only did people go back to my website, they typed in my brand name. This was a branded keyword search. Then you're really in good shape. And that's really the gist of it. That's really the gist of multi-channel funnels, which is another great feature of Google Analytics. The next section I want to talk about is actionable forms. So what would be an actionable form? They could be basic. They could be something like someone goes to your website, there's a contact form, a general name, email, message, and they hit submit. That's as basic as it is. That is an actionable form. You would still want that on your website. You still want to know if somebody can't find something on your website, you want them to know, I'm here. What do you need? Let me know what you couldn't find. And those are all ideas, by the way, that you guys should remember, is you could do stuff with your form. It doesn't have to say, very military, name, email, message, submit. It could say something like, what is your name? What could we help you with? Or what, did you find anything here? How did you find us? When you start digging deeper into actionable forms, something that's giving your audience something to fill out and giving you information, you want to know how they found you. As much as Google Analytics is a great tool, sometimes people take their privacy very serious, and they might turn off all of this stuff. With iOS 14 out now, you might not be able to track all that. You might need a form to tell you I found you from a friend, word of mouth. I found you through Facebook. I found you through Pinterest. And if you let people fill out this information, the majority of people are actually going to fill out that information. As much as you think they're not, they'll tell you. If they're going to put in the work to say, for instance, you're a restaurant that hosts catered events. If they're filling out all that information that says, I'd like to have a wedding ceremony or a bar mitzvah at your catering hall, and they're putting, there's going to be 100 guests. It's going to be on, 2 months from now. They will put in that extra time to say, how did I find you? My best friend, Vicky, told me about you guys. They're going to put it because it just takes 2 seconds. If you want to make it a required field, you can. If people really don't want to fill it out, they could just put anything in that field. It doesn't matter. As long as they could submit the field and get their kids' party going, they don't care. Just put it in there anyway. Give people the option. They will fill it out. We've seen this on so many of our clients. They will fill it out. So let them decide. Don't decide for your audience what they will and won't fill out. Sometimes if you put too many fields, yes, it might look like, oh, God, I have to fill all this out. Majority of the time, though, you have nothing to worry about. And going back to the topic of actionable forms, how can this help you tell what your return of investment is? The number one way it can tell your return of investment is literally by giving your service a price. And you want a form to be on each service page that you have. For instance, if you offer something like, cocktail parties, you're going to make a page with this form on it, and this form is going to be separate from every other page that you have. Because when someone submits this form, guess what? You're tracking it through Google Analytics, okay? And you're going to connect the goal to it. So you're going to say, hey, Google, when somebody fills out the cocktail parties form, on average, we make $2,000 for an event. And now Google Analytics is going to be able to tell you, hey, Karen, guess what? This form that was filled out got you $2,000, okay? And guess where it came from? It came from Pinterest or it came from Facebook. And you're going to know. You're going to know what's making you money. You're going to know how much money your website is making you. Because if you don't have these connections made, what is the point of having a website? You're paying monthly. You're paying for that website. You paid somebody to build the website. If you paid $100 or you paid $5,000, wouldn't you want to know what it's doing for you? I mean, you're not just going to go up to a car salesman and say, oh, it's $5,000 for that car? Sold. I don't even want to know what's in it. I'm just going to give you the money. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to give him the money. You're going to drive it. You're going to say, wow, this car is really fucking worth it. Or you're going to say, this car is a piece of shit. I don't know why I paid this money. I don't know what it's doing for me. It's breaking down every 5 minutes. I mean, that's another thing. If your website doesn't have the foundations in place, it's not going to make you money. And I'm not just talking about Google Analytics and actionable forms. I'm talking about basics. I mean, we're talking about backups. The most basic thing in the world is a backup. I mean, if your site goes down, can you get it back up within an hour? The majority of business owners probably have no clue if they have a website backup. That's a problem, especially in 2021 when online ordering is becoming a huge deal. People are getting used to post-COVID the things that they did during COVID, which was online ordering, curbside pickup. You have to make sure your website's up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, if you offer online ordering, if you go through something like DoorDash or Uber Eats, not a lot of restaurants are paying the fees. They don't want to. They want their own ordering system, or their POS offers it. Then your website has to be up. But regardless, you need a destination for people to go. If they want to online order, they might not go through the app. They might go on your website, look at the menu, and if you offer a button right there, that's another return of investment right there. Is your website is up, it's online. There's a button that says order now after someone looks at the menu. If your website isn't up, you might be losing sales. So that's something to think about. Okay, now the last piece to the puzzle is going to be something that might scare the majority of you, because once you hear this term, you're going to say, "Oh no, I can't do that. I don't know what that is." So what I'm talking about is basic search engine optimization fundamentals. Now, I personally work on SEO for a living, so I know how advanced it is, how detailed it is. I mean, you need to really know what you're doing. You're not going to be doing any of the stuff that I would do. Obviously to a degree, some of the basics I handle, but I'm saying you will not be doing the majority of the work that SEO takes. I mean, it's a lot of work. What we will be discussing on this episode is basic SEO is something as simple as, if somebody shares something from your website to Facebook or to Pinterest or to Twitter, that your website will have an image, it'll have a title, and it will have a little blurb piece of text that explains what they're sharing. That's it. That is basic fundamentals of SEO as it pertains to social media. And these are the basic SEO fundamentals anyway. I mean, when it comes down to brass tacks, you're talking about words, text, images, and media on your website is the basic fundamentals, a basic building block of SEO. As a business owner, you can control the text, the word, the picture that shows up when someone posts something about your brand. You 100% are in control. If someone shares from your website to another social media platform, you can control everything that happens. And it could be through, my favorite platform is something like WordPress, because there's a plugin called Yoast, Yoast SEO. I'm going to have a couple of links in the description anyway, so don't worry about remembering all this shit. But something like Yoast SEO, it's free. You plug it into your website, and it'll literally tell you on the page, it'll have a little tab for social media, and it'll have the picture, the title, and an excerpt, a little message. So that if someone shares, a shoe from your website, it's not just going to be a basic picture of your logo with the title that says, DSW.com shoe store, and the excerpt is going to say something like, media image 1, because it can't grab any information from your page. What you want it to say is, it'll have a picture of the shoe that's being sold. The title is going to say something like, or actually, let me put it something more relevant, because I told you guys we weren't doing anything with e-commerce. Let's do a restaurant. They're on the menu, or you have a specific page for a brand new burger. The actual picture, as far as in Yoast, is going to have the burger, right? The burger itself. It's not going to have your logo. The title is going to say, bourbon bacon burger. And the excerpt is going to say, this brand new burger just came out. It's loaded with cheese, bacon bits, and bourbon sauce. You have to try it for a limited time. That's going to make you want to buy something. If you see that, that's what's going to catch your eye, not your logo. Your logo is not going to catch someone's eye because they're not interested in your brand. They're interested in the something leading to your brand, the burger, the shoe, the anything but a logo. You need something to draw people in. So if your website has these fundamentals set up, then your audience is going to be marketing for you if they share whatever this is. They could copy, you know what? They could even copy and paste the URL to that page into a text message. And on iOS, when someone sends you a URL link, it shows you a picture. It has the title. It has a little description. I mean, these are things that help tell the story about your brand. So if your website has all of this set up, you already have the basic fundamentals of SEO accomplished. And you don't know anything about SEO. And once again, this is not to belittle how search engine optimization works. This is to give you a better return of investment on your website as a business owner. It's very simple. And just because you can do it doesn't mean you shouldn't pay for it. Okay, you got to remember when you're paying agencies. I mean, I own an agency myself, and I'm not trying to steer business away from my agency, but just because you could do something doesn't mean you shouldn't pay for it. Because anybody can drive a car, but if it's not, Dale Earnhardt Jr., you're not going to win an NASCAR race. I mean, you have to know what you're doing. But to a degree, a business owner can set up these tools on their website, basic foundation. If you think it's not doing anything for you, of course you should consult someone who knows what they're doing, such as an agency or, some kid who it's your nephew's best friend and he knows how to do SEO. Of course you should pay for it. All I'm saying is these tools, these 3 tools, are designed to help you as a business owner who maybe you don't want to pay for an agency, you just bounced back from COVID, you don't feel like paying for an agency, you can't afford it, or whatever it is. You should use these 3 basic fundamentals in order to get a better return of investment on your website. Because the whole point of your website is to make you money. And if it's just sitting there collecting dust and you don't even know how many people are visiting it, you might say to yourself, oh, maybe I'll update the website, but what's the point if no one's visiting it? Do you have that answer? Do you know how many people are visiting your website? Probably not. The majority of business owners have no fucking clue how many people are visiting their website. They have no clue if the visitors are visiting from a mobile device or if they're visiting from a desktop. They don't know. So this will hopefully help you along the way. And if you need any help, I'm going to put my text number, my community number at the end of this podcast. There's no reason why you can't text me and say, Joe, I don't know how to set up Google Analytics. Can you send me a link to an article? I'll send it to you. I'm not here to make money off of people off this podcast. This is just to help business owners. We've been helping small business owners for almost 5 years now. And, we're just trying to give back when business owners, small business owners especially, are in a very rough time right now. And there's no reason for them to not succeed when people like me exist. And we're really trying to help you guys as much as we can. So please use these resources. Please ask us questions. And I hope you found this podcast very helpful. As always, thank you guys for listening. And if you think this episode has brought you some value, you can text the word podcast to 516-447-5332, and you will be the first to know about new episodes. And you can even ask us questions about the podcast or about digital marketing in general.